Hello, it's getting started here.
Hey,
Hi, Macy. How's it going?
good. Oh my God, this is so funny. We have so many colors between us.
I know. I got a colorful background.
Look at my shirt. It says hard feelings.
Oh, does it? I can't see that.
Hello.
Oh, hey,
Hey,
going.
How are you all doing?
Good, good.
good. I love that you're out in nature.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's nice. I'm
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
checking if R is join us. Um,
Yeah.
oh no, I can't seem to figure out how to do that. Wait 1 second. Whoops. My first time doing.
Yeah. Actually, it's my first time doing IG Live as well, too, to be
Me
completely
too.
honest with you.
I don't know how to add a fourth person.
Huh.
Let's.
Did they send you the request?
No, I don't think so. Let's have a look. Why don't we get started and then if Car joins, we
Mm-hmm.
add
Sure.
Car. Yeah, my button which to add people has disappeared. So
Okay. I think it shows up. So what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to. I think they're supposed to click, I guess, to view live, and then when they view it, there's a
Oh,
request button that pops up where you can click to request.
I
yeah,
see. Yeah,
So
I
then,
see. Car
yeah,
just joined.
yeah.
Car, we can't figure out how to get you on here.
Yeah, because I had to click request to join.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Car Martin, if you can hear this, click request
Request.
and then we'll get you on here. Um, okay. Sorry, I'm just pressing my screen a million times here to see what happens. Oh, I need the most updated version of the app. Huh. I don't know if I have that. But I have three people. Mm, what if we
Car does.
did Car write that in the chat?
Note, Tamar, Tamar,
I'm trying. I don't see any.
okay, they're like, I'm trying to join.
Uh-huh.
Um, hmm. Okay. No, don't want to report Car. Uh, let's okay. Why don't we chat and I'll kind of keep figuring this out on the back end. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
Car, if you're there and want to add anything in the comments until we find you, then we can chat that way if that works. I'm going to assume that that is okay because it could take a second to get you here. Okay, let's try that here. Okay. Hello, everyone who's watching. Thank you for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Oh, Car keeps hitting request. I'm not seeing it. Okay, yep. Great. Thanks, Car. Thank you for being our shadow answerer in this. Um, I'm Alex Rand. I am the producer of artistic programs at the Luminato Festival and one of the co-curators of Desire Paths, which is our audio experience podcast that we've been releasing every month since January, I believe. And I'm here today with two and a half guests. Car is here. Three guests who are kind of the co-creators of this new episode that we have just released this past week called Quayside Futures. So on this call here, I've got Macy Sue, who is an artist and design researcher and a strategist of Toronto-based Foresight studio From Later. And Macy is also the creative producer of the series, so has been really involved through all processes of and creation of this. Sorry, Tamar, I'm seeing your message and I can't, it's not giving me the option to add car is the only thing. Sorry. Yeah, the way I did it before is just not happening. So I'll still include car in the chat. And then we've got Aljumaine Gayle, who's a creative technologist working at the intersection of technology, art, design, and data justice, and is one of the co-creators of the episode. And we've got Car Martin, who is our shadow guest in the chat, who's an architect, an artist, and facilitator who uses technology and design principles to work towards a vision of collectivism, care, and environmental justice. And Car and Aljumaine are co-creators of a soundscape called QPL Arcology that features in the episode. And we're going to chat a bit about it today. If you can't join us for the full conversation, the episode is available on the Luminato website. It's called Quayside Futures, and it's also available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So, Aljumaine, I'm just going to do a bit of an intro into the arcology and sort of some of your thinking around it. And then Macy and I are going to kind of back and forth around questions. This is, as you know, as I just said, this is like our first time doing, like, and it's also the first time with multiple people. So if it gets a little like all over the place, that's cool too.
Yeah.
So arcologies, for those who are watching who don't know, are a mashup of architecture and ecology, and they exist in this world of speculative fiction. And you and Car chose to focus on the Quayside site down in the Portlands here in Toronto, where Side originally used that space. And I'm wondering if you could just tell us a bit about the arcology and what would, where did the name come from, and also sort of like what would interest somebody to visit this arcology in the world?
Okay, yeah, that's a great starting question. So, so the whole idea was for us to, I guess our idea initially was to sort of to create this soundscape slash like worlding project to sort of create this new vision of what a space within Toronto could look like if it was created through co-designing, co-creation, based off of the needs of the individuals, like different people from different walks of life, background, education, class, and things like that. That was like to create this space where it's sort of not this polished idea, this super clean idea of like what developments are typically pictured as. We wanted to use sound as a way of creating this world and this space for people to explore, and as well as for an opportunity for them to use their imaginations to run wild, to sort of see what a collective space based around care and trust could be like for different people. And it was really exciting to do this with sound. So I guess QPL Arcology is to start off. The name is sort of a mashup of Quayside Portlands, and we sort of wanted to have like a quiet nod to the existing site, while avoiding talking about Sidewalk Labs, which is sort of dominated the site. The idea of what the site could be, because it was planned to be this like massive, speculative, this like sexy, really clean, polished, smart city that sort of has been in development for a number of years, and collectively that project failed because of a number of reasons. We wanted to imagine what that could look like, which would be the opposite of a smart city, a place that focuses on the residents that reside there and the things that people need, like affordable housing, access to proper health care, and access to support. Like it's a place where we don't want things to be polished. It's a place where people can be messy, or things can be messy from the ground up. It's a place where people care about the land and the environment. It's a place where people care about anti-oppression and, creating governance systems that are for people who want to live in a world that's equal and fair overall. And so the name is just QPL stands for Quayside Portland's narcology narcology is something that comes from it's popular in science fiction. Narcologies are, like you said earlier, like a mashup of architecture and environmental-based technology type things, and they aren't really real. But we thought it'd be fun to explore the ideas of what this place could look like if it were to be realized through sound.
Cool.
I hope I'm rambling again.
Yeah, I mean, like working with you both on this episode is really interesting in terms of just really amplifying and immersing the listener into the sounds of this speculative space. Hey, Carl, you're here.
I made it.
Hey.
I had to weigh in. I don't know what was going on. I'm sorry.
We're so happy to see you.
It's really nice to see all of you.
Well,
Nice to see you too.
I suddenly got a button that said I was allowed to invite you. All of a sudden, it was like,
oh, very strange. I did a bunch of things.
Yay!
Magic.
Yay! We were just talking about the world building process, and I found it really interesting that actually, even before thinking about the sounds, you both started off with a collage that actually listeners can see on the Luminato site as a start to the speculative design process. And yeah, tell us more, and also like, what do you think speculative design can bring to city building conversations?
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, we started off with a collage, and I think we first had this idea that was a lot more structured. We were thinking about all of these different futures, specifically because it became such a well-known site because of Sidewalk Labs. And then also lots of other stories and mythologies folded into like future ideas by activists and stuff like that. So we built this collage, and I think one of the central ideas in the collage was pulling in different futures and trying to really show a series of futures. And we started thinking about it as sort of like all these futures really pushing like force upon a site. And it becoming this thing is like all of these mythologies are sort of bearing down on the site and creating there's a line in there that says that the site will buckle under the pressure of all these futures. So I think that was sort of like a good bridge between our collage, trying to imagine all these things in images, and then how we switched to sound, which is a very different medium. We couldn't really show all these different things without it being totally confusing. So we had to sort of make things a lot more cohesive. Yeah.
Cool. Aljumaine, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Actually, that was very well said. Like we wanted to pull together all these different futures, and it came an exercise of sort of like what things should we cut, because there was a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, Carl was very well said about what we did for our creative process for it so far. I mean, overall, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also about the thing I didn't really say is thinking about the site as an actor or as an agent, because all of these things bearing down on it. And I think what we really wanted to do, and the medium of sound was so powerful at, was being able to sort of be in the site and just listen. And I think sound really allows or sort of advocates for a more sort of mindful way of doing design, which is about listening and being in a place.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think especially now we're like entering this era of sound and social sound, so it's particularly relevant, I think. And in the soundscape, you really kind of guide the listener through multiple sites, and it's interesting because it's like bridging, the present of where you are, and you could be at the Quayside site or not, or you could be in your room listening, or you could be going for a walk. But then you are also stepping into these different features. And so you bring the audiences through 3 specific sites. There is Nearshore, Strauss, and Plumo. Maybe we can talk a little bit about each of them. Nearshore is super interesting. There's this like more than human focus around like interspecies collaboration, and you talk about seagulls and algae and also sheeps. And there's this really really cool new kind of role of labor around shepherds in almost like this post-police city. Tell us more about this, like community roles and what's needed in this vision of a city like rooted in care and nonviolence.
Yeah, so I mean, we started with I think a lot of the inspiration for Nearshore came from the very starting point of the soundscape, which was about this tree. And the first time we visited the site, it was very, very windy, and it was super windy. And the tree was this tiny little piece of wind protection for us as people that were out there in this pretty, like in some ways, pretty hostile environment. And the tree became a sort of post or a fixation point in the story. And I also want to thank my friend Mark Harris Sherman, who's on here right now, who is an arborist and actually biked down to the site one night to identify the tree and told me a bunch of really cool facts about this particular cottonwood tree. Cool. And that became part of our story building process. But yeah, I think that site is all about interspecies collaboration, and also how this idea that we can use technology as a way to be more sensitive to the rhythms that already exist, and how can we use this sort of, I just like the idea of being more sensitive, and how can we use sensors to be more sensitive? You know, how can we actually have these little tendrils that help us to understand the things about these natural systems that we don't understand because we can't see with our sort of blind human eyes. Yeah, and then we have this whole idea of the shepherd, which is kind of part of that, but kind of different. And that, you know, the idea that there are sheep, and then instead of the police being this institution that sort of controls people, this would be in the post-policing city. There would be shepherds. And I actually wore this jumpsuit because I was thinking maybe the shepherds would wear something like this.
Oh, I love
it. What a great uniform. A really great uniform.
Oh no, we lost Macy.
Oh no, we lost Macy. Yeah,
Macy.
I thought Macy looked like she was freezing.
Macy?
Yeah, same.
That's pretty funny. I guess I'll get her back at some point. I don't know. To keep on, so we'll I have all the questions here too, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I think so.
Was there Aljumaine, was there anything that you wanted to oh wait, sorry, you were still talking about like the shepherds and the role and their outfits.
And their outfits, very important. But yeah, I mean, shepherds, the idea is around care and around having this sort of, you know, if we abolish the police, we need to have something that is very different, that looks very different, that is more about an idea of stewardship. And I think that's what shepherds sort of do. I mean, I don't know a lot about sheep or shepherds actually, but you know, there's a sort of a sense that they guide the flock and they make use of the inherent traits of the sheep and sort of guide them and use the landscape in an act of stewardship. And it would be really cool to see a sort of something taking over the role of policing that would be more about that, trying to like harness conflict into something that's more generative as opposed to making vulnerable people pay for, you know.
Totally.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And the cool thing about the whole idea of shepherding being like this other role that sort of is more dominant than policing is sort of like you have an opportunity where it creates this opportunity where, you know, we are trusting people and creating a system in which people are being prioritized versus, you know, a system that's used to predominantly oppress and harm specific communities and, you know, in the world. And I think that if we were to create systems that utilize care and co-design, co-creation, there's a possibility of a lot of really cool solutions being made that could be made to support different communities and to create a more interesting and harmonious approach to conflict resolution.
Yeah, that's way into the question, which is like, so the second area in the neighborhood, go to the Trouse governance group, and that looks at sort of rethinking governance models, and the soundscape is the fundamental values of a city that's rooted in care, and a bit about in the episode, we talked a bit about now, but like what does that look like to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like for me, so like what we talked about a lot were different ways of collectivism that can be used to create communities that are centered around care and anti-oppression, and finding ways to actually bring forward solutions to specific problems such as like affordable housing, access and proper mental health, and care. And a lot of those solutions could easily come from the process of co-designing and co-creating through governance, which is an interesting way of leading versus having like it's just in complete opposite to how things are currently done within most political systems anyways. We wanted to create this governance body that was made up of a large different variety of people from different walks of life, education, background, and another important aspect of that is that this governance group would evolve and change and grow as time went on, based on people who come in and out of that particular space or inhabit that space. Oh, hi, Macy.
I figured we've lost her.
Yeah.
Oh, Macy is frozen.
Macy,
Keep
yeah.
frozen again, unfortunately. But yeah, Trouse is just centered around trusting people and being truly there to serve the community that people are made up of. Like it's created to serve the communities that people come from, and so the people who make decisions or create solutions for that community are from actually from those communities who live and participate actively.
Cool, thanks. Art, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that, I think that's really well said, but I would say that scale is very important in relation to this. We're looking at a very discrete site and talking about this notion of arcology, which is sort of an arcology is a closed loop system that is self-sustaining, but ours is a little bit more cracked open, I guess, but it's still very location specific. Right. And I think there's a problem, with governance. Often the scale is too large for this idea of the governance group. It's very small, it's very granular, and I think people, in order to have relation to the sort of governance model, whatever it is, it has to be fairly granular, and I don't think we have a lot of those examples in our society in a coordinated way. So I think that, yeah, the idea of scale is also important here.
Totally. Totally. I think we only have time for one more question. So it's a big question, which is, if QPR arcology is an image of the future that we want to work towards, what seeds do we need to plant now, and what work can we be doing in the present to move forward? Also, I think Macy's back. Hey, Macy.
Hi.
I would turn. That's a tough question. I think it's because I want to turn it around and turn it on its head a little bit. And I think when me and Aljumaine were talking and creating the soundscape, the idea that it's this sort of like perfect packaged future that we should, me and Aljumaine created it. The idea that we should like sell this to other people or tell people to get on board with it is kind of against the idea of it. We're not trying to like promote any particular future. I think it's more about starting a conversation or being part of a conversation that goes back to this idea of listening, being in a site, being more generative in our design and governance practices in the city. And the fact that it's not this perfect thing is very intentional in the design of it.
Cool.
Mhm. Yeah,
Aljumaine?
that was very sad. Yeah, I mean that was like Cara was very well said. Like it's more of like an opportunity to create space for people to start thinking about what the possibilities could be. Like what possibilities could be, and you know, and the interesting thing about that is that like there's room for the imagination to run wild to sort of envision, um, you know, of how things can be very different and with respect to, I guess, governance and city planning and you know, housing and care and stuff like that.
Mm,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think often like when we are even in the work that we do, we're trying to highlight the tensions that might exist in terms of the changes that we're seeing now and what are the implications of those changes and what could be, what are the possibilities, and not necessarily like this is a utopia or this is a dystopia. And I think this soundscape kind of brings about those tensions really well. Yeah.
We're running out of time, so I just want to thank all three of you for joining in all the beauty that was the technical glitches of this live. Thank you for your patience as we figured it out, and thanks to everyone who stuck around and watched as we like figured it out. So we've been talking about the third episode of Desire Pass, which was created by Luminato with Macy Sue from Later, the Strategic Foresight studio here in Toronto. We've been talking about Aljumaine, Gayle, and Cara Martin, who created the episode. If you want to listen, it's on the Luminato website, or you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts whenever your heart desires. And it gives you lots of thought for the future. So it's a really beautiful. Glad to let you all create.
Great. Thank you so much. It was such an interesting process.
Yay. All right.
Yeah, it was a really good process.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great working with both of you to bring this to life. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah,
Me too.
Listen to the sounds of the city.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Go outside
Yeah.
out right now.
Ah, in the woods.
Where are you, Aljumaine?
So I'm in Mississauga right now, and one of my favorite spots is like this like forested area, which has like a large variety of different trees and vegetation, and so it gets very lush during the summer.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm just sitting on my favorite log at the moment. I know, it's sure to have a favorite log. I mean, at this point as well.
We should all have a favorite log.
Yeah. Everyone log this weekend. That's your task.
The assignment.
All right. Assignment. Great. Homework. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.